In this video lecture, we're going to go through a demo of writing code for the traditional Getting Started program in Java, Hello World. Okay, let's get started. Your first lab programming assignment this week will be to implement the traditional starter Hello World program in Java. When I say traditional, what I mean is that in many programming languages, the first teaching program is some variation on this simple starter program. So we won't mess with that programming tradition in this course. Hello World is nothing but a simple starter program that just prints out some user-specified text. It may be trivially simple, but it does serve some very useful purposes. First, it gives you, the student, some initial practice or stick time with the Java language and the JGrasp IDE. Second, it confirms that we have the ability to display text to the screen under our command. We have to get something simple working first before we can tackle anything more complicated. In other words, we got to walk before we can run. Third, it serves as a useful check that both Java and JGrasp are installed and working properly together. And finally, it gives us a working starting point or program pattern for all the programs that will follow this semester. In doing this exercise, I'm making the assumption that you've already installed Java and JGrasp using the procedures outlined on a previous slide. If that's not the case, pause this video now and go back and do those installations. Then come back to this video. So here's how this exercise is going to work. I'd like you to pause the video now to open up this week's Hello World assignment in Canvas so you can follow along. If you haven't already done so, I'll pause for a moment here while you do that. For the remainder of this video lecture, I'll then start from a blank screen and open up JGrasp and demonstrate how to write this program, step by step, from the steps in the handout. You can either follow along on your own or watch the video and then try it for yourself. Okay, let's get started on Hello World. I'm going to start next on page 2, step 1 of the assignment. Okay, what you see here is the upper left of my desktop. I've got a pretty large monitor, but off to the right I've got the assignment open and I'm just going to be following through all the steps. Before I get to step 1, I'm going to do one preliminary thing, and I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it CS12 code, and this will be my working directory for this exercise. Next, in step 1, I'm going to invoke JGrasp from my start menu. You should see a splash screen like that, and here's my JGrasp window. So this main area in the upper right is the editor window. This is where we'll be writing all of our source code. To the left is the file browser, which lists all of our .java files, and this is just another directory where I've got a lot of example files stashed. And down here in the lower right is the messages or interactions window, and this is where we will see either compiler messages or errors or program outputs. So in step 2, I want to go to my file browser window, and I'm going to navigate my way to my desktop, and I'm going to select the CS12 code directory on my desktop and set that as my working directory where I want to save my work. Then in step 3, I'm going to create a brand new Java source file by selecting File, New, Java, and notice that 3 things will happen. I've got a new empty text window here to start typing some code. I've got a brand new unnamed empty file, and notice that a couple of new icons have appeared here on the JGrasp toolbar. So in step 4, I'm going to save this empty file right away by either clicking the Save icon or File, Save As, and I'm going to save it in my working directory CS12, and I'm going to call it Hello World RL, and it's going to be a .java file. I'll click Save, and it's created. So let me say a few words about naming conventions in this course. All classes in Java, by good convention, begin with a capital letter, and they have this camel case naming convention where all the internal words are capitalized. And in this course, we're going to append all classes that we write with our own initials. So mine will be RL, and use your initials for your code. Don't use the FL that's shown in the handout. In step 5, we're simply going to make sure that the line numbers are turned on, and they are. There's an icon in the toolbar here with the numbers on it, and you can click on that to toggle the line numbers. So we can turn them off, we can turn them back on again. It's a good practice to make sure the line numbers are always on in your code. It just makes it that much easier to map any compiler messages to specific line numbers in your code. So get in the habit of toggling that to turn the line numbers on if they're not already on. So as of step 6, your toolbar in JGrasp should resemble the one in the assignment. There are 2 icons I want to call your attention to because we'll be using them repeatedly as we go forward. This green X is the compile icon. This little red running guy is the execute icon. And so our design cycle will consist of writing some code, saving our changes, compiling our changes, running our code. Repeat. Okay, so let's start writing some Java code.